Everyone wants peace. Very few want discipline. They want a calm mind, but they refuse structure. They want control, but they avoid responsibility. They want freedom, but they reject order. And then they wonder why their thoughts are loud, their emotions unstable, and their life chaotic. Inner peace is not a gift. It is a payment. And the currency is discipline. If your life feels restless, scattered, or heavy, it is not because something is missing. It is because something is unmanaged. The mind left without direction does not become free. It becomes noisy. Thoughts multiply. Desires compete. Emotions rise and fall without control. This is not depth. This is disorder. Discipline is what creates silence. Not silence around you. Silence inside you. Most people misunderstand discipline. They think it is punishment, restriction, a loss of freedom. That belief alone keeps them trapped. Discipline is not control imposed on you. It is control reclaimed by you. Without discipline, your impulses decide your life. Your mood decides your actions. Your environment decides your direction. And that is not peace. That is dependence. Look closely at your daily behavior. When you wake up late, rush, consume without intention, speak without thought, scroll without end, do you feel calm afterward? Or do you feel irritated, restless, dissatisfied? Chaos always leaves residue. Peace comes from alignment. Alignment between what you know is right and what you actually do. Every time you delay what must be done, the mind fragments. Every time you avoid discomfort, confidence weakens. Every time you break your word to yourself, self-trust erodes. This is why people feel anxious without knowing why. They are constantly betraying themselves in small ways. Inner conflict creates noise. Discipline removes conflict. When your actions follow clear rules, the mind stops arguing. When decisions are already made, energy is conserved. When structure exists, calm becomes possible. This is why disciplined people appear peaceful. Not because life is easy, but because their inner world is ordered. Peace is not the absence of difficulty. It is the absence of internal chaos. The disciplined person does not ask, "What do I feel like doing today?" They ask, "What is required?" Feelings are acknowledged. They are not obeyed. This is not suppression. This is mastery. The mind must be trained like the body. Left untrained, it becomes weak, reactive, and restless. Trained daily, it becomes stable, precise, and calm. This training is not dramatic. It is waking up when you said you would. It is completing what you started. It is maintaining structure when motivation disappears. This is how peace is earned, not through meditation alone, not through escape, not through avoidance, but through discipline in daily life. Once discipline enters your life, resistance appears, from the world, from within. The mind will say, "This is too strict. You deserve rest. Balance is important. You're doing too much." Sometimes rest is necessary. But most of the time, this voice is fear, disguised as concern, fear of discomfort, fear of effort, fear of responsibility. Discipline exposes weakness. That is why it feels heavy at first. Chaos is familiar, structure is unfamiliar. But familiarity is not peace. Most people confuse comfort with calm. Comfort numbs. Calm stabilizes. Numbing feels good briefly. Stability lasts. At first, discipline feels restrictive because you are used to impulse. But impulse is not freedom. Impulse is reaction. True freedom is the ability to choose your response, regardless of emotion. The disciplined mind is free because it is not hijacked. This is why discipline creates inner peace. When your day has structure, your mind relaxes. When your actions are consistent, your emotions stabilize. When your standards are clear, self-doubt fades. Doubt thrives where standards are weak. A disciplined life removes unnecessary decisions. You no longer debate whether to train, work, or act. The decision has already been made. This removes mental friction. Mental friction is the source of fatigue. People are not tired because life is hard. They are tired because they constantly negotiate with themselves. Negotiation creates tension. Discipline removes it. Discipline deepens. Something changes quietly. You stop reacting to every thought. You stop obeying every urge. You stop identifying with every emotion. You gain distance. That distance is peace. Peace is not emotional numbness. It is emotional regulation. You still feel anger, but it does not control you. You still feel fear, but it does not paralyze you. You still feel desire, but it does not command you. You become internally governed. This is why disciplined people are calm under pressure. Pressure reveals training. When chaos enters, The undisciplined collapse because they have no structure to return to. The disciplined return to basics. Sleep, movement, breath, work, silence. Structure becomes an anchor. At this point, peace is no longer something you search for. It is something you experience naturally, not because life is perfect, but because you are aligned. You trust yourself. And self-trust is the foundation of inner peace. Most people cannot trust themselves. They break promises. They avoid effort. They escape discomfort. So their mind stays alert, restless, anxious. Your mind relaxes when it knows you will do what is required. Discipline tells the mind, I am safe. I am handled. And the mind becomes quiet. This is the price of inner peace. Daily effort, clear standards, no negotiation with weakness. Not dramatic, not loud, consistent. At the final stage, discipline stops feeling like something you do and becomes something you are. This is where inner peace becomes permanent, not because life is gentle, but because your inner system is strong. You no longer need reminders. You no longer need motivation. You no longer need external pressure. Your standards enforce themselves. This is the level most people never reach, because it requires one thing they avoid their entire lives: consistency without reward. No praise, no excitement, no visible progress, just quiet alignment. At first, people think peace comes from removing stress. It doesn't. Stress will always exist. Peace comes from removing inner resistance to responsibility. You no longer ask, why is this happening to me? You ask, what is required of me now? That shift changes everything. The disciplined mind does not dramatize difficulty. It handles it. It does not complain to feel better. It acts to become better. You also stop trying to control life. You control yourself, and that is enough. When life applies pressure, you don't search for escape. You return to fundamentals: breath, posture, action, silence. This return creates stability instantly. That stability is peace. At this stage, emotions are no longer enemies. They are signals. You feel them fully, but they do not decide your behavior. The mind observes, the body acts, the standard remains. This is self-mastery. People around you feel it, not because you speak about it, but because your nervous system is calm. Calmness is contagious. Chaos spreads from unstable people. Stability spreads from disciplined ones. You become an anchor, not because you try to lead, because you don't panic. You also become selective. You protect your time, energy, and focus. You don't argue with people committed to disorder. You don't explain your discipline to those addicted to comfort. Silence becomes your language. This is not arrogance. It is clarity. You understand something deeply now. Discipline is not a restriction. It is the highest form of self-respect. Every time you choose structure over impulse, you tell yourself, I can be trusted. And trust creates peace. Not temporary peace, not artificial calm. Real, durable inner peace. Most people spend their lives chasing peace through distraction, entertainment, substances, or escape. They calm the mind briefly, then return to chaos. You chose a harder path. You built peace from the inside, through standards, through repetition, through refusal to abandon yourself. That is why your peace cannot be taken. Life can change. Pressure can increase. Loss can come. But you remain steady, because peace is no longer something you seek. It is the result of who you've become. And that is the final truth. Inner peace is not found. It is earned. Through discipline. Discipline moves beyond the self and becomes presence in the world. This is where inner peace is tested. Not in silence, not in routine, but in interaction, with people, with pressure, with unpredictability. Anyone can feel calm alone. Strength is revealed when the world pushes back. At this stage, you no longer seek agreement. You no longer need understanding from everyone. You move according to principle, not approval. Your peace is not dependent on being liked. It is dependent on being aligned. That distinction changes how you speak, how you listen, how you respond. You no longer rush to defend yourself. You no longer over-explain. You no longer react emotionally to every challenge. Reaction is a loss of control. Response is a choice. You choose. This is where discipline becomes restraint, not silence from fear, but silence from confidence. You understand that not every thought needs to be spoken, and not every emotion deserves expression. Expression without control is weakness disguised as honesty. Controlled expression is strength. You also notice that your tolerance for disorder decreases. Not because you are rigid, but because you value clarity. You don't enjoy chaos anymore. It drains you. You step away from unnecessary noise, drama, and conflict. This is not avoidance. It is selection. Selection is a sign of maturity. Your energy is no longer unlimited, so you spend it deliberately. On work that matters. On people who are real. On effort that compounds. You no longer confuse business with progress. Stillness sharpens you. The disciplined mind knows when to act and when to wait. Waiting is not passivity. It is timing. Most people act too early or too late because they are impatient. You wait until action is precise. Precision creates impact. At this stage, your peace feels heavier, not fragile. It doesn't disappear when criticized. It doesn't crack when plans change. It doesn't vanish when things go wrong. Because it was built under pressure. You've trained yourself to remain composed while uncomfortable, to breathe while stressed, to think while others panic. This is not talent. This is repetition. And now repetition has become instinct. You don't seek control over others. You understand that control over self is enough. Power that needs to dominate is insecure. Power that is grounded does not need to display itself. You feel no urge to prove strength. You embody it. People begin to treat you differently, not always with admiration, but with respect. Some will feel challenged by your presence. Others will feel safe. Both reactions are information, not responsibility. You stay centered. At this point, peace becomes something you carry into chaos. You don't isolate yourself from life. You engage fully, but without losing internal order. This is rare. Most people are either calm because they avoid life, or chaotic because they engage without discipline. You've learned to do both. To be fully involved, without being internally disturbed. That is advanced discipline, and it sets the foundation for the final evolution of strength, responsibility beyond the self. Not yet action, not yet leadership, but readiness. Because when discipline reaches this depth, peace is no longer fragile, and strength is no longer personal. It is transferable, and that is where the path continues. At this level, discipline transforms into responsibility beyond the self. You are no longer focused on fixing yourself. That work is ongoing, but it is no longer the center. Now the question changes from, how do I stay disciplined? To, what does my discipline serve? This is where real strength begins to matter. Discipline without purpose becomes empty control. Purpose without discipline collapses under pressure. You now carry both. Your actions start influencing others. Not because you instruct them, but because you are consistent. People trust what is reliable. They listen to what is grounded. They follow what is calm under stress. This is leadership without authority. You don't seek influence. You accept responsibility. Responsibility does not mean fixing everyone. It means not becoming another source of chaos. It means holding yourself to a standard, even when no one benefits directly from it. This is where most people fail. They behave well only when rewarded. You behave correctly because it is correct. That is integrity. Integrity is discipline when no one is watching. At this stage, your presence stabilizes environments. When things go wrong, you don't escalate. You de-escalate. When others panic, you slow things down. When emotions rise, you bring clarity, not by force, by example. Your nervous system becomes a reference point. People unconsciously match it. This is why disciplined individuals change rooms without speaking. You've also learned to accept weight. Real responsibility feels heavy. It demands consistency even when you are tired. It demands clarity even when you are emotionally affected. You no longer escape that weight. You carry it. This is where many people retreat. They confuse responsibility with restriction. But you understand something they don't. Responsibility gives life meaning. Without it, days feel empty. With it, effort feels worthwhile. You also stop blaming circumstances. Blame is a way to give power away. You keep power by asking, what can I control? And acting on that. This does not make life easier. It makes you stronger. At this level, discipline protects others indirectly. Because you are stable, fewer problems spread. Because you are prepared, fewer crises escalate. Because you are honest, fewer misunderstandings grow. This is quiet contribution. You don't need recognition for it. You don't need gratitude. The discipline itself is the reward. And now you understand a final truth forming beneath everything. Inner peace was the foundation. Discipline was the method. Responsibility is the outcome. You are no longer disciplined to feel calm. You are calm because you are disciplined. And because of that, you are capable of carrying more than you ever could before. Not because you are stronger physically or mentally alone, but because you are reliable, and reliability is the highest form of strength. The path continues, but you are no longer searching. You are ready.